I'd like to call to order the February 11th, 2025 Columbia Borough Council meeting. Roll call, please.
Councilperson Murphy.
Here.
Councilperson Brigard.
Here.
Councilperson Fisher.
Here.
Councilperson Giese.
Here.
Council President Zine.
Here.
Councilperson Kaufman.
Here.
Councilperson Stahl.
Here.
Mayor Litz.
Here.
Thank you.
All right. Did anyone like to offer an invocation? If you'd like, please rise. Well, good evening, Council and Mayor and Police and all that are here tonight. I'm the Reverend Martha Harris, and I'm honored to serve as Rector of St. Paul Episcopal Church. And I'm doubly honored to also serve as President of the Columbia Area Ministerium, which is an active network of clergy colleagues. So I bring you greetings from St. Paul, where Mr. Murphy is an active member, and from the Ministerium. And we're going to be having a special event at our church on February 23rd. It's a benefit concert that will support the music education program at the school district and the 3E Columbia group, the Education and Employment for Everyone. So mark your calendars for February 23rd at 3 o'clock. We'd love to have you join us. Let us pray. Almighty God, our Heavenly Father, send down upon those who hold office in the Borough of Columbia the spirit of wisdom, charity, and justice, that with steadfast purpose they may faithfully serve in their offices to promote the well-being of all people here in Columbia, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilperson Stahl, would you like to lead some pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Announcement of executive session. Council held an executive session on February 4th at the conclusion of the at the conclusion of the workshop to discuss personnel issues. Are there any additions, deletions, or reorganization of the agenda needed? I'm not aware of anything. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda as published?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl, to approve the agenda as published. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Citizen comment, non-agenda items only. The first sign-up is Sharon Littner.
Good evening. I wanted to make a comment going back to a question I asked about our legal bills. And it's been no secret that I have questioned, our legal bills seem pretty high over the course of time. And I asked about those election emails. And I'm curious, they were $525 for a couple of exchanges there. And the solicitor told me that he was asked whose term was up and who was running in the coming election. And I'm just curious because the terms are printed on our borough website. And I know it's not printed who is running, but their emails are there. So they could contact them directly via email and ask if they're running. I'm just curious why we are paying for knowledge that could be obtained for free by whomever was asking.
I can't. I was asked to help with it, Sharon. So that's what I did. It was for the Lancaster County Board of Elections. They were seeking what were the open seats and who was going to be running in the next election.
I was going to ask you who requested it.
Yep.
But I just find that curious too, because they should have that information. We were talking so long about saving money and so forth. I thought when you can get information free, why would you pay a solicitor to provide that. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yep.
And one other topic, I'm still going through my right to know information. And I just had a couple questions to try to help me understand it. There were some heavy equipment paid for, some asphalt paid for using bond money. And I'm just curious, would that be, like some of it even said community development block grant and smart growth. I'm just wondering, would we be reimbursed for that later if it was, is this like an upfront expense, or why wouldn't liquid fuels have been used for the heavy equipment and things of that nature? I'm just trying to understand the information.
I don't know. I was
Okay.
not,
Because those kind of items are typically paid for, I think, with liquid fuels fund. So I was just trying to figure it out if we ended up reimbursed for it. And if we did get reimbursed, where did that go? Did it go back on the bond? Did it go into capital or general? I mean, I just don't understand quite how that all fits
well,
together.
The CDBG money isn't, it's not a reimbursement grant. It's paid directly to CDBGs.
I can't speak exactly what occurred, but from what I can remember, it is likely what happened is, yes, you normally do use, like for the CDBG project, you usually use liquid fuels to cover your match. At the time when the bond money was available, and I believe there was a time when the bond money needed to be spent,
Okay.
they were using the bond money for the match instead of using liquid fuels.
That's what I
Okay.
would have
The
thought.
liquid
too.
fuels money still stays there. You don't lose that.
Right, right. No,
So-
I didn't think you did. I thought maybe you used it for other projects or
Again,
something,
yeah,
but
Sharon, I really don't want to probably saying too much now that I shouldn't, but I'm trying to remember back to those times. And I think if something was eligible, if the bond money could have been used on something, they used the bond money to preserve money in other funds.
okay,
So the liquid
okay,
fuels money just rolled forward to the next year.
okay.
and
And you
bond
see why
uses
I'm
match.
still harping on this is because we're paying this back forever. Seems like forever. So one other thing I noticed in that information was that CS Davidson had billed us a total of like 264 times during that, billed us that bond money was used to pay those bills during that time frame of about 3 to 4 years when we were spending that bond money. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention too. So
Well, I mean, that's not unusual because
just seems like a lot of times we were billed for, I'm sure there were projects going on that, but I'm just putting it out there because I think there was some talk about getting a planning and zoning full-time position. And we did have somebody in that position at the time. I believe Jeff Helm was still here for part of that at least. So, and that was his title at the time, planning zoning.
but
So-
that would not have the skill set to
For
do-
those projects.
To do engineering.
Okay, fair enough. I just wanted to point it out that a lot of the billing on those pages that I received was for engineering fees. Thank you.
But Derek is correct in what he said. You have these pots of money, and you had that money that had to be spent within a certain period of time, and you had liquid fuels that didn't have to be spent and can accumulate. And so you had to use that money, and when you had streets and equipment and things like that, you used that up first, and then you covered it with the others. CDBG, we probably used CDBG monies plus some of that money to cover some of the streets we did. And that left liquid fuels to do some of the overlays that we did on other streets. So yeah, it's a balancing act, but you had to use that money that had a time limit to it first. And you're correct there in what you said, Derek.
Is there anyone that would like to speak that did not get the chance to sign up? All right, minutes for approval. Could I have a motion to approve the Borough Council meeting minutes for January 28th, 2025?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl, to approve the Borough Council meeting minutes for January 28th, 2025. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Do I have a motion to approve the Borough Council meeting minutes for February 4th, 2025?
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl, to approve the Borough Council meeting minutes for February 4th, 2025. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Presentation and acceptance of reports, community development. Eric.
I'd like to acknowledge the receipt of the Columbia Market House report for January 2025.
Any other questions?
Okay.
Public Works and Property.
Yes, I'd like to acknowledge the receipt of the Public Works and Property Report for January 2025. Any questions?
Mayor Lutz.
Yes, I gave you all a copy of a invitation to STEM open house. That's up at the high school. And that'll be on April 8th, 2025. And STEM, if you don't know, it stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. They have a wonderful program going up there. I have been working with Arlen Mumal for the past year on this, and I've been up there and saw some of the things that the kids are doing. It's absolutely fantastic, some of the things they're doing. They're making an attempt to get back to teaching our kids how to use their hands and their brains together. They have a CNC machine up there to do some metalworking. They have a printer, the
3D printer.
3D printer that they offer to make signs for the borough, small lots of about anything. That's great. And they have a science lab there, and they were working on some environmental projects and things like that. I would encourage you, if you can, to make that and see what's going on up there. The end result on this is to, as these kids, this is ninth grade, as they transition up through 10th, 11th, up to seniors, that we can get them out in the community, or I should say out in the business world, to work on kind of like an apprenticeship program so they can get a feel, is this something they'd like to get into later, after they graduate, and what requirements they may need, further requirements as far as do they have to go get a degree, or do they have to go to Stevens or a technology school to get those kind of things. They can get a feel for it, and they may have the opportunity to try working in this business for a while and maybe another business. So part of this open house is to bring the business community up. And I have already contacted Columbia Economic Development, and we're going to be contacting the downtown merchants to get them involved in it too. So I'm excited about it. They're even talking about running, and talked with Michelle, and Michelle's talked to Arlen Mumal, who's the coordinator. We'd like to do some summer camps. For example, a 1 week summer camp on small engine repair. Teach young people how to work on small engine lawnmowers and those kind of things, tillers, weed whackers, those kind of things, small engine repair, and bring some people who are in the business in to work as advisors to do that. So I'm really excited about it. I'm pretty high on tech and working with your hands. I think that's something over the years we lost when we took shops out of schools. So if you can make it, make it. And Sarge, do you have anything?
I was going to say, we don't have the chief, but we have
Yeah.
Sergeant Art here. Would you like to?
Yes, we have a test coming up for police officers on February 22nd, the written portion of the test, and I believe we have 12 applicants. So that's looking very
That's
promising.
good.
Yes. And I also have the pleasure of having both new officers on my shift, and they're doing very well out of the academy, so.
Awesome. Thank you. Action items. First of all, do I have a motion to authorize the bill payments?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl, to authorize the bill payments. Are there any questions, comments, concerns?
Just one question on $1,550 in 1 month for the animal shelter. Well, it's like a lot of people not keeping an eye on their pets or whatever, but and unfortunately, too many people treat their pets like throwaway toys. But are we tracking, are we getting the money? I know we pay and we get it back when they claim their pet. Is there any way we keep track of so we know how much we're getting back? Or?
These were for permits. Some of the stuff were from permits that people had for the law enforcement. That's why it's so high.
Oh, this is like animal control and shelter fees. I thought that was for the ones that were, running away from people and things like that. Okay, thank you.
But with that, Kelly, we do have some of that. That's on the rise.
That's crazy.
Chief took notice of that when we were formulating the budget this past year. Times are tough out there, and we're seeing quite possibly some folks can't handle, their pet anymore, and they abandon them. And so they get picked up, and we have to deal with them.
Yeah.
We do have some, we have some escape artists in town that run away every time the door, every time the door is open, and we deal with them. But we are seeing an increase on abandoned dogs.
Yeah. It's a shame.
Wait, what permit are we paying?
So I was thinking that those were all when they catch the dog and take them there, then you have to pay that for catching the dog. I'm
Yes.
confused
That's what I
about
thought
the
they
whole
were.
permit thing.
Yeah,
I didn't understand.
yeah, that's
sure if
the
she
money we have to
understood.
pay to the animal shelter or the animal hospital.
And then we get that back.
We
Okay.
we charge the, Yeah.
That's what he just asked.
but we don't get it back
If
if the animal's been abandoned.
Right.
If the dog isn't, or if the animal isn't claimed, we don't get any money back,
Nor do we get the fine.
nor do we get the fine.
Somebody comes in saying that chooses to adopt one, do we get any of it back then, or is it just kind of his adoption?
I believe, I don't know if you know Holly or not, I believe they pay an adoption fee, kind of like they
Yeah.
do up at the
It's
shelter.
something at least anyway, but yeah.
They paid an adoption fee, I'm not quite sure what that is, and how much goes to the hospital.
Yeah, how much goes- It's a shame. If you can't handle them, don't get them.
I had a question on Cody Computer Services. It's page number 1, 7,171.
I believe that's for the police.
Yeah, that's a Cody system. I think that's an annual
Okay.
registration.
Any other questions? A motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl. Approve the bill payments. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, I'd like to review the table of permitted uses for the light business district. I do not anticipate this taking very long. We can just go down through, and if this, again, this district, the only place that is light business is what is to be the McGinnis Innovation Park. So this is us saying what we do and do not want out there based on our normal zoning districts. So residential uses, all of,
Can I say something?
yes.
Just so everybody's aware, the N is no, P is permitted, and SC is special exception,
Mhm.
which means they have to come to zoning.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah, that's at the top of the
I know.
thing. So,
And I have a question on that. Are there special exceptions outside of what's labeled as by special exception?
if there's a special exception, no.
There's
If they want something outside of the special exception, then they have to, then it's a
variance.
variance.
A variance.
That
Okay.
goes to the zoning hearing board. So, and we don't mark if what they, because pretty much they could go to the zoning hearing board with any variance.
Yeah, yeah.
Any of these could go be requested.
Understood.
What I'll add to the conversation, anything that is listed as a special exception use has special exception criteria listed in your ordinance. So
Yes.
if it's permitted, boom, you can do it. If it's a special exception, somewhere in your ordinance says you can do this, but you need to provide this, or this. What to remember is if something is a special exception and they meet the terms of the special exception, you have limited to no ability to tell them no. So it's basically permitted, but with conditions is what a special exception is.
Makes sense.
So, we'll just go down through, and if you disagree with it, say it, we'll flag it, and I'll mark that up. All these residential uses are currently marked no, single family detached dwelling, twin dwelling, which is a duplex, row home, townhouse, apartments, boarding or rooming house, retirement community, group home, or short-term rental. They are all no. So they don't have a problem with those. All right. Now we're on the commercial uses. Adult use now is no.
What is adult use? Oh, good. That's what I thought.
Right. An after-hours club is listed as no. Airport is permitted. Auto repair, garage, or service station is not permitted. Which also includes automobile, boat, or mobile wait, no, this is the next one. This table's weird because it has lines where it shouldn't.
Can I say something on the armor?
Yep.
Bill repair? There was a time when that not the fire company, what it was called. It was a fire company repair company,
A
Yeah.
fire truck restoration company.
something like that, yes.
Mhm.
And they were in Landisville. They wanted to buy
Livingstone's.
down on Front Street. They were denied because that's a riverfront commercial.
Mhm.
And they were interested in a parcel of McGinnis.
Mhm.
But after 4 or 5 years, they went somewhere else.
Mhm.
My point is though, do we want to take that off the table?
Or do you want to better define it? In other words, do you want a regular garage there?
Yeah.
Or do you want a restoration, I'll say, like, not automobile, but vehicle restoration business, like you're talking about? And that may not be the quite the correct words, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll say this, and I think most people in this room would recognize this. Your table of uses is a little outdated. It could use some updating, but you're working with what you've got right now. I just as a side note, I do remember one of the big issues with that fire truck restoration company in particular was that they needed to test the sirens, which would cause just as much trouble at the McGinnis Innovation Park as it would down on Front Street. But that was mainly the reason. I don't think it was what they were doing, as far as the restoration side of things, but some of the testing that was going to need to take place.
That's fine. I'm just,
There is a section in here, I believe that would fit right under, and it is permitted
okay.
for that.
Which one is that?
Yeah, it's on the second page. It's industrial equipment, sales, rental, or service other than vehicles primarily intended to be operated on public streets.
Okay.
Thank you.
Auto, boat, or mobile manufactured home sales is no. Bakery is permitted.
All right, can we go back to the auto boat line manufacturing home sales?
Yes.
Why is that a no?
Being so close to the river might be something you want to consider.
I don't even know about boats. I'm just saying. I don't. It's a business.
You could have a boat dealer in there.
Not a boat dealer. This is manufacturer.
We're a manufacturer.
Well,
No, no,
is it
no, it's not manufactured.
home
This is
sales?
sales.
Sales.
I'm sorry.
Manufacturer.
It dropped down. I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I said it's got weird lines.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Do we want a car lot? Do we want a boat dealer?
No, they don't deny
It's like a fish split.
All right, bakery permitted. Bed and breakfast is permitted.
it. That should be a no.
That's what I thought that as well.
What about a bakery?
I'm buying a bakery.
Mhm.
You want a bakery?
Nothing like waking up to fresh bread in the morning.
Well, then a bed and breakfast would go good next
I
to a
think you'd be
bakery.
better off listing that as commercial bakery.
You're right.
Yeah, commercial bakery, yes.
Because there are instances in here where they talk about home-based businesses, small
Yeah.
crafts
Yeah, well,
type
yeah.
thing. I think like what you're referring to is like a small donut shop or I make
Well,
macaroons.
since this
We
was
can't
commercial
change
use,
that.
that's what.
No.
I'm talking about commercial.
Commercial, something like Tasty Cake.
But we can't change that.
Why can't you? You're redoing the whole thing.
No, we're not.
But this is,
We would have to add a whole new category.
this is under commercial uses though, so that's why I would
Right.
thought
Oh, yeah.
it would be a commercial bakery.
What's a commercial bakery?
Yeah.
Look.
But-
It's under commercial uses, so bakery would need to be a commercial bakery.
That's why I see it anyway.
But it's under commercial.
Yeah.
You don't have to change it. You just add it.
Beverage distributor, which may include retail and or wholesale sales, is permitted. Boat marina, boat storage, and boat repair is not permitted.
Do we, on the distributor, do we want retail sales down there? I mean, I don't want to be restrictive, but I also just want to ask the question. I know in our workshop discussion, it was brought up how, we have a lot of like retail, even smoke shops. I mean, that's obviously not defined there, but do we want that type of use permitted?
There's been a concern throughout this McGinnis project of traffic.
Mhm.
And if you have, for example, a distributor, you're going to have a lot of truck traffic.
That's right.
Mhm.
You got to make up your mind whether you want that or
Mhm.
not. That's daily truck traffic.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say,
Yeah.
Mayor, is that's something that you guys have talked about not wanting and not being really able to handle in that site very well is a lot of daily truck trips. And if you've ever driven by Ace Distributing on Route 30, you know what that looks like. So,
I do want to say this. I understand we have our opinions and our likes and wants and dislikes, but our intention is to sell this property. And the more you restrict what can go on there, the harder it's going to be to sell.
Right.
But do you,
And I don't want to rule out truck traffic either.
but do
I know
you-
that'd be
do you
nice.
lessen what's good for the community to get rid of the property? Because once you do that, then you're stuck.
But we're talking an industrial park, like industrial, but still an industrial park. You're gonna have truck traffic. You might have truck traffic every day from business to business. You may have truck traffic every hour from business to business. So, yes, and we can't control that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You need to make a decision. Do you want that or not?
You're talking like 18-wheeler.
Yeah.
Yes, tractor trailers,
Yeah.
Yeah, distribute.
yes. And it's bound to happen. I'm sorry. It's just, you can't control it.
You gotta be able to haul as much as you can at one time.
And a buyer's not gonna want something where it's a box truck access only.
But again,
Mhm.
keep in mind that someone owns the property. One of our biggest things is that any of the off-site improvements would not be able to be paid for with bios. So we are trying to avoid as much of the off-site improvements as we can. If someone purchases the property and they want to develop it for whatever use we have on here, part of that planning process is the studies to verify if the off-site can accommodate whatever traffic they're planning. And if it can't, they're responsible for those off-site improvements. It's no different than any other development that happens all over the place. So if you have someone that wants to put a beer distributor in there and they say they're going to have all this truck traffic, it's going to be up to them to determine what off-site improvements are needed to accommodate that traffic. Right, Derek? I mean, that's what we had talked about.
Yeah, you're gonna
In
need
meetings.
turning lanes and.
Right.
And stuff.
Yeah,
So-
I think as part of this, it would be valuable to review the traffic study requirements of really it would fall into your saldo more than your zoning ordinance, but anything related to 441, that's going to be dictated by PennDOT. But I want to make sure that there's teeth in your ordinance. What you say makes complete sense. I want to review your ordinances and make sure all that's in there ironclad to ensure it supports what you're saying, Heather. So, but yeah.
So then back to the auto repair garage or service station, that doesn't necessarily have truck traffic. What's the reasoning behind not having that as an available light business usage? 'Cause it seems like a light business.
I thought that too. No, I had no problem with changing that to permitted.
Mhm.
Thoughts?
I mean, I don't really see a problem with it in an industrial park area.
Nope.
It could be okay, but they'll be subject, I don't know what our ordinance says, they'll be subject to X amount of parking spaces.
Everybody is.
Yeah, I mean,
No, I'm
that,
saying that business will, look at some of your garages that you have today. Look at how much parking is used up. You can't be parking on the streets of that business park with vehicles that are waiting to be repaired. They have to all be on site.
right, but that's
I'll
part of
make
that business located there. That's,
That's what I'm saying.
yeah,
That's gonna require.
I'll make
X
a
amount of parking
recommendation that as you guys go through this for conversation just like that, where you're looking at a use and saying, well, that's a prime example of using a special exception.
Yeah.
So maybe to get through this evening, any use that at face value you have concerns about that you think you need to add some restrictions to it, I'd mark that down as a special exception use, and then the planning commission can work with council to define what those special exceptions could be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because one of the special exceptions could be on lot parking.
Correct. You have parking requirements in your zoning ordinance, but if you're concerned about a specific use that it might require additional parking, maybe per square foot of the building or per bay or something, that can all be defined in a special exception section. So I think, but it's just my recommendation.
Yeah.
Permitted, not permitted, or we have some, if it's on that gray area, maybe mark it down as a special exception use And if through the workshopping, you can't define those special exceptions to make everyone comfortable, then strike it and it's not permitted in a later date.
Can I just ask one question before we move on here? Is council's desire for this to be an industrial park? Because that has not been, at least my understanding of what the purpose of this was or what you guys wanted. Just want to make sure we're careful with language here. I always thought, at least from the meetings I've been in, I thought the idea was to have this be more of like the Greenville Road property as a commercial development, not so much industrial, but that's completely up to you guys. I just want to make sure that as you're going through this, that we're careful about what you'd like to go out there.
In my mind, you're correct, Evan. I haven't heard any, I don't know if I've heard any permitted uses that fit that bill.
Not yet.
Yeah, I think you're getting to them, but yeah, I just want to make sure that we're, that you guys are keeping that overarching, whatever that is, it's up to you guys, but what you overarchingly want out there, what type of business, just make sure you're keeping that in mind.
Well, that brings up the next question, because originally it was a drone. And the drone training center may have surrounding businesses that support that training center or support drone business. That's dead. Or it's a very heartbeat, one or the other.
Yeah.
So now it becomes a industrial park. Whether it's light industrial, whether it's whatever you want to call, whatever type of businesses you think are out there, it is my opinion that we make it suitable to sell it for the largest possible dollar we can get and not handcuff ourselves to what our vision was originally. Secondly, it does change things. Our interest has always been in the neighborhood, taking care of the neighbors and stuff like that. But there may be some light industrial where it gets louder, or fire sirens, or trucks going in and out. That's just the nature of it, and we won't have complete control of it. I don't think we should have complete control of it. Because once we try and control that stuff, we're pretty much limiting our ability to sell. So that's where I'm at. I mean, I'm just desperate to sell it.
Yeah, I agree, Eric.
And not to the first buyer, but to the highest bidder.
Right.
So auto repair, garage, or service station, in or out?
Well, I think that begs the question if we're going to accept boat repair
You can put a special exception.
by special exception. I mean, the other thing is we don't want necessarily like just a boat yard, we want it to be, but I guess as long as we get, like you said, Eric, to the highest bidder, it's also going to not be just cheap land that someone's going to put a boat yard on. But that's still, do we make a special exception for that kind of business activity?
I understand getting the highest price you can. Do any of these use cases have an effect on the taxable amount of that land based on the use?
No.
No?
No.
So a boat yard is just as taxable just as much as a microchip plant.
Building.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep. How about it?
You're telling me that, yes, a
Just
boat
like
yard
the storage
gets the same amount of revenue as a microchip plant.
No.
It doesn't necessarily matter what the business does. It matters the value of the improvements, right? So a a facility that would manufacture microchips is likely going to spend a significant amount more improving the land than somebody who wants to do boat repairs.
So is it fair for us to consider what kind of uses we went on there to maximize tax revenue generating potential? Here's what I would hate to have. 15 garages out there
Mhm.
working on VWs.
Oh, that's where you're going right now.
Right? That's what I don't want to have happen.
Right.
It's supposed to be an innovation park. That was the idea.
Bunch
That's
of
going to
gravel
generate
parking lots,
$50,000 a month in taxes. It's one thing to sell it and get unloaded. That's what it feels like. How can we get the most for it as possible? We're also setting ourselves up to get the lowest amount possible, I think. I think we're shooting ourselves in the foot, opening it up too broadly. From what I understand, this is a desirable piece of land. Am I right? In Lancaster County? This is a desirable piece of
Yes.
land. Got great location.
Yes.
I think we don't let the market determine the shots. I think we determine what the price should be set at. The whole purpose of buying that property in the first place was to help balance future budgets.
To expand the tax base.
And I think we need to consider what use type goes on there so we can get the biggest bang for the buck in the future.
Mhm.
Is it fair to say no garages? I don't know. Is that illegal to say no garages? Because I don't want to have a garage in here because it's too cheap. I don't know what you can and cannot do.
It would not be illegal to say that something isn't permitted there as long as it's permitted somewhere.
And it is.
And it is, and even in that situation, if a certain use is not permitted anywhere, not spoken of in your zoning ordinance, it's technically permitted everywhere by special exception. So they'd have to go to the zoning hearing board. But yeah, as long as you allow for it somewhere, generally, you're absolutely fine. Somewhere within the borough. Yep.
So auto repairs and boat repair are out, correct?
Yes.
No, I'm just one person.
No, I agree with that. I mean, I feel like part of this list, almost like we should almost start with the part that we're aiming for, but it's hard to, like, maybe we just look down through the list and then
Well, and that's.
come back. So
Yep.
I'll stop talking now.
All right. Boat repair is out. Campground, special exception.
No.
I would say this should be a no.
No.
Car wash.
No.
No.
What the heck?
We have a car wash.
Communication antennas mounted on an existing public utility, transmission tower, building, or other structure, and communication equipment buildings.
Yes.
Yes. Communication towers subject to the standards for communication towers set forth in blah, 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 and communication equipment buildings. That is no,
That would be like your standalone,
That would
like
be
cell
like-
towers
yeah.
or something. Not one that's now.
No, what's up, though?
right.
And do we have a problem with that?
I would just say no to that. If somebody wants to tuck one away in one of the corners.
Of their property.
I agree.
I agree too.
I say yes.
All right.
But do you
Or
just,
special
I mean,
exception. Maybe a
if
special
it's
exception
no-
so we can determine where it goes.
right, so like by special exception, anything, I mean, they could ask for a variance, but if it's just permitted, they could put it in the middle of the area.
Okay. So before we go further, I gotta ask Derek this. Every special exception has to have its own little definition.
Correct.
We already have special exceptions for communication for this thing, so.
Yeah, once you define something as a special
But
exception.
we're throwing special exception around a lot. And I just want to make it clear that for everyone we put in there,
Yep.
if it's not already defined, we have to create a definition for it.
Yep.
I'm saying if
So-
it's no, they can ask for a variance regardless if there's a special exception definition given.
Correct. Yeah, so a
Right.
variance has a significantly higher threshold to meet than a special exception, but yes, they absolutely could. If you don't permit it, they could ask for a variance to put one out there.
The variance, there's what, 5 or 7 rules?
Five,
Five rules you
yep.
have to hit,
Mhm.
which
Very tough.
It
very
is.
difficult.
If it's enforced the way it's supposed to be, it's
Right.
very tough to get a
So I
variance.
would
Yeah.
depend on that, because that's basically your safe stop.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, one of them has to be financial,
Mhm.
okay? So,
It's a special exception for towers.
it, yeah, that's fine, it's already defined, that there's already a special exception, it's fine.
Yep.
It's,
You
it's a
can-
no
you
right
can
now, but
define
there's,
it
if
to
you look
perimeter
beside it,
areas.
there's an SC beside it.
CR.
That doesn't matter, that definition already exists, is what I'm saying. Even though it's under CR, it's still a definition.
Okay, I understand what you're saying.
Conference center is permitted. Construction company or tradesperson's headquarters is permitted. Crafts or artisan's studio is permitted.
So that one, I guess so, I'm fine with that.
Custom printing, photocopying, faxing, mailing, or courier service is permitted. Exercise club is permitted. Financial institution, provided any drive-through service shall need special exception approval, is permitted.
That shouldn't be permitted.
Why would that not be permitted?
It don't fit in a business area.
A bank doesn't fit?
Well, you can leave it in because you're not gonna get anybody to put a bank out there.
I mean,
You may get an ATM, you're not getting a bank.
we need a bank in town, and I don't want to limit where it can go.
You're not gonna get a bank, you can get an ATM.
Flea market auction house is not permitted. A funeral home is permitted.
Yeah, I'd have to go against that.
Funeral home?
You won't be catching lively.
What's
No,
that?
that can't happen.
Go against what?
A funeral home.
Against the
I agree.
funeral. Yeah, I agree.
Golf course is permitted.
Absolutely.
So we're saying
No.
no to the funeral home.
Yes.
Pitch and putt.
That's what it says here. Golf course is permitted. Greenhouse or garden center is permitted.
Wait, are we saying yes to a golf course?
Why not?
I would say no to the.
That's
golf
not
course.
that's not very improved.
Yeah, you're not gonna get a lot of tax.
The tax dollars off of a golf course,
I don't know. I don't know what the difference would be.
unless it's a golf resort.
Yeah, it would be, I mean, right, you don't have much improvement to the land because a lot of the land area would be taken up with just literally grass, right? Like you might have a clubhouse, but the area that takes up would be, better used probably in other ways,
Okay.
Yeah,
The whole property isn't big enough for a golf.
yeah,
I didn't
well,
think
that's
so.
true. Yeah.
That's why I wasn't worried about it.
So we're changing that to no. All right. Greenhouse or garden center. Yes, that is permitted.
That's permitted?
Yeah, why not?
A kennel is by special exception. A laundromat is no. Commercial or industrial laundry is permitted. A lumber yard is permitted.
Why is a lumber yard permitted when building supplies is not?
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't do this.
Did we do building supplies already?
No, we
I think-
didn't.
I
that's
noticed
why.
that too, Todd. Down
That's why
further.
it's down later.
It's not later.
It's under industrial uses, which I feel like it should be permitted.
Okay, well,
So
But we'll get there.
So lumber yard is permitted. Motel or hotel is permitted.
so I kind of struggle with this, but I don't think we should take it out.
I know.
Only because
I know.
Only because of what?
I know, right?
Tax income off of-
a hotel can be a great generator,
Yeah.
Sure.
tax generator.
Tax rate.
Plus, I think there's also gonna be a need for a hotel out there. I mean, there could be a need for a hotel out there.
I think we should have 3 hotels.
All right, an office
Yes,
is permitted. Personal services, including tailoring, custom dressmaking, hair cutting and styling, dry cleaning, shoe repair, and closely similar uses are permitted.
How does that fit under industrial or commercial? No, I guess it's.
Yeah.
Light business.
Picnic grove, a private picnic grove
no,
is
No.
permitted.
No.
no, that's great.
Recreation, indoor other than publicly owned recreation, includes a bowling alley, roller or ice skating, batting practice, or closely similar uses. That is permitted. Recreation, outdoor other than publicly owned recreation, including miniature golf course, golf driving range, amusement park, boating, fishing, and closely similar uses. That is currently permitted.
That should be a no,
I would say no.
except for fishing. They want fishing crazy. Yeah.
Repair, a household appliance repair service.
I'd say, wait, maybe by special exception though, because there might be a corner of that property with a river view that is out of the way
For what?
Recreation.
For recreation.
for
Driving range?
There's
That's
a
indoors. Oh, that's outdoor.
there's a conservation piece to this
Right,
and a trail that goes
Trail.
through it up around the old convalescent home.
right.
We
That's
already
the whole
have
southern end is gonna be that.
right. But right next to that,
Is a swamp. That's gonna be the water reservoir, or whatever.
Can be your driving range, just hit the walls in the reservoir.
Repair, household appliance repair service is permitted.
Why not?
Why not?
What if Whirlpool wants to put out one of their,
I'm thinking like a little garage where a guy does appliance repair.
This is commercial.
I think you're safe in some of that. Who's gonna pay the money you require?
Yeah. Restaurant with drive-through service is not permitted. Restaurant without drive-through service is permitted.
I don't have a problem with that. Restaurant in industrial park?
Yeah, I know.
Maybe we can bring back Bob's Diner.
Because, I mean, people, if you think about it, people
Mhm.
working in Greenfield, they need someplace to eat.
Absolutely.
Retail store, not including uses listed individually in the table. There's a
There's a 5.
There's a 5 at the bottom. What does 5 say? Limited within the light business district, no retail establishment shall exceed a total floor area of 100,000 square feet.
It's a big restaurant.
that's pretty big.
It's pretty big.
So, well, that's for a retail store. That's not a restaurant.
Oh,
The retail store cannot exceed 100,000 square foot. All right. A target range is not permitted.
No.
A tavern, which may include a state licensed microbrewery, is allowed by special exception.
I don't know about that.
I'm okay with that. Look at Trogs up in Harrisburg.
Yeah.
super successful.
If we're allowing a restaurant.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But a restaurant can serve alcohol.
And tavern can serve food.
So aren't they the same?
There is
There is
really
too.
not much of a, I don't know exactly how they're defined in your zoning ordinance. This is what I mean when I say
Yeah.
your table of uses could
use
use
some
some
updating.
updating. But yeah, I don't think there's much difference between the restaurant without a drive-through and a tavern at this point in time.
Okay.
Both can do.
Should I change that to P?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Theater, an indoor theater other than an adult use is permitted. A trade or hobby school is permitted. A veterinarian office is permitted. And that is the end of the commercial uses. Now we are on to industrial uses. An asphalt plant is not permitted.
Okay. So why wouldn't this be permitted?
That is, maybe that is super heavy industrial. You would have noise and smell
and
dirt and
yeah.
dust.
Grossness.
Yeah.
Heavy
Trucks,
Trucks like crazy.
Drive down Louds Mill Road in York from 30 one time and you'll see what that is, and I don't think that's what you want out there. But that's up to you guys, but that would surprise you.
Traffic.
No, I would agree. That's more like quarry level
Yep.
traffic.
All right.
Building supplies and building materials wholesale sale. The wholesale sales of building supplies and building materials is currently not permitted.
See, I don't know what's different about that than the lumberyard.
Lumberyard.
I don't think there's anything different.
Let's say P.
P it? All right, that's a P.
That's a lot of trucks.
That's okay.
All right.
That's different.
Small.
They're not heavy trucks.
They're 18
No,
wheelers.
no, I meant.
Yeah, I mean, again, I just want to be cautious here. We've talked a lot about traffic impacts and not wanting to create too many. As you start to get into some of these industrial uses, I think you're looking at some pretty heavy truck generation from a use like that. When I'm thinking of again, building supplies and materials, that's material coming in and material going out and probably bulk material.
Special exceptions.
What's the difference between that and lumberyard, no traffic?
Yeah, you absolutely have to remember here as well that all of this traffic is basically going to have to go out to 462, right? Because of the one lane underpass on Plain Street, it's not going to be able to go out to 441, which would be absolutely ideal, but that is not going to happen. So you're going to be going through a neighborhood to get to 462 no matter what with all of this stuff.
I see it.
I keep it now.
Yeah, I mean, you might want to, you're basing a lot on the lumberyard. You might want to reevaluate your answer to that one. If trucks are concerned.
Well, you can wind up with
I just don't see
a place like Granger.
MSC.
All right, am I leaving it no?
Yeah, leave it at now.
All right. Distribution as a principal use other than a trucking company terminal is not permitted. Finishing of previously prepared resin, vinyl, polymer, or rubber products is permitted.
I don't know what that.
There has to be, or had to have been one point of business in the borough that did that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Back to the building supplies though, because a lumberyard is permitted.
Mhm.
As long as they don't sell nails.
It's building supplies.
That's building supplies.
Yeah.
Every major lumberyard is selling all kinds of building supplies.
Derek was saying maybe reconsider lumberyards, isn't it not?
Well, I'm saying we need to be consistent.
That's
So
what he was saying.
both are no or both are
P.
permitted.
The lumberyard, you're gonna be bringing roof trusses in and all kinds of stuff. Plywood, you know.
18
or do it by special exception.
Okay, so I think we have to decide here before the grandfather, because this is where it gets with the trucks, basically.
Right.
Are we willing to have a light industrial park with no trucks? Or do we have to accept the fact that if we have a light industrial park, there may be truck traffic? Because the reality of it is, as we stated, it's going to be Manor Street, was it 13th or 14th, out to 462. That's going to be the pattern. They are decent-sized streets, they could probably handle it. But it's truck traffic.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, if you're gonna have truck traffic and you're gonna accept it, then pretty much everything can fall underneath there. If you're gonna say no to truck traffic, then pretty much everything we talked about is a no.
I don't
But see,
think
how can you restrict? I mean, we can't restrict trucks other than our current restriction we have on our streets. But except for local deliveries. Now this, we're trying to restrict the use of it so that trucks don't even get the opportunity to come into the businesses.
Right, so if I'm an investor and builder, why would I pick an industrial park that I can't have trucks on?
Right.
That makes no sense.
I agree.
I think we're limiting the truck traffic. We're not saying either trucks or no
Correct.
trucks. We're limiting what's going to be
It
going
doesn't
through our
matter.
towns.
It doesn't matter if it's a lumber truck or it's a car trailer.
Or the
Or-
volume of it.
You're right, Barb. I mean, that, again, this council is welcome to take this any direction that they want. But in our previous scoping of this, the concern was always that we would limit, not that there would be no trucks ever. We're expecting that. It's looking at the uses that would have the higher volume of them. So no warehouses, no distribution. That was some of the concern. Again, I agree. You can't get away from having some of these uses that are going to need truck traffic and sometimes some big trucks, but you hope that that's a few a day, not.
And I agree with everything you said there,
Yep.
Derek. That was, I think, everybody's vision at the time.
Sure.
But when that drone never landed, that whole vision has to be erased.
Yep, Eric, you're right on. And again, as I said, you guys are welcome to take this in any direction.
And I will say for the record, after watching New Jersey with the drones, I'm kind of glad we didn't get it. Just saying. They were awfully loud. I didn't realize how loud they were. You think truck traffic's bad?
So,
But I think we had to have that discussion. Do we
Mhm.
want to accept trucks or don't we? Not that you're not gonna have one truck here and there, especially during the building stage. But if you're okay with warehouse distribution, then you're gonna have frequent trucks.
but we're not okay with warehouse distribution.
You guys asked what would be the top dollar that you would get for this site. It would be a warehouse, right? That would be the highest value you would get for the land and the highest tax dollars without sending any more kids to the schools. But that has, that's always been, the discussion has been, that's like off the table for this because of the truck traffic. But if you were asking just what is the absolute highest amount of money you would get paid for this property, that would be it.
So,
Ideal would be if we could get a data center.
Yep.
That would be ideal.
Yep, but that's not, I just looking through these quickly, like, that's the thing, is you may have to consider some uses that are not on this table because of the way technology and other things are changing as well.
that bank, for AI. We're gonna fire up TMI for.
That's a data center.
Well, yeah, data center.
What'd you say? Microsoft
Data center would be
bought the reactor,
Amazing.
or leased the reactor of TMI.
Clean,
so they could create-
quiet.
It's close to TMI, the river was, where
There's fiber.
I'll
In and
call
out.
Bill.
So,
I, for one, am not willing to sacrifice a high volume and large trucks going through our city streets for money. So I, for one, would lean on the side of limiting the volume of truck trafficking and the size going through our Manor Street or under bridges or whatever. I mean, that was the whole reason for 441 breaking off, was because we did not like the trucks going through our cities. And now we want to set up a scenario where it's happening again. So I, for one, want to limit the truck traffic.
I'm still trying to understand why we're saying, okay, for the lumberyard. I mean, I get, we're gonna have trucks bringing the supplies in, so is the thought that the lumberyard would just be like contractors and you and I go in there to buy our stuff, whereas the building supplies and building materials, it says wholesale sales.
Yeah, I think,
So
I think
that's more
the
like
difference is
your
that-
big stuff coming in and more trucks coming in.
Exactly. I mean, I think
Is that it?
like, and I don't know the name of the company, but there's a company that builds like trusses
Yeah.
out on Route 30, east
Yeah,
of Lancaster. I think that's more of what that is envisioning, where you bring
whereas
building materials
lumberyard
in.
is like Peter Lumber.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, 84, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember Peter Lumber?
I do.
Yes, Sharon.
Leather lumber.
Now, this is going to make me sound a little dumb, but I'm just wondering, you said in the beginning that the McGinnis was the only one for light business. Is that correct?
Yes.
So why couldn't you make every use special exemption? And then when somebody wants to bring something, you could hear it at least and know what their ideas are.
Because if you do that, we'll never get rid of the property.
That's not how special exceptions work.
Okay. I didn't know.
If you
I just-
define a special exception, you have to define the criteria that they need to meet to be permitted. So
Okay.
for instance, I could say, Sharon, you are welcome by special exception as long as you wear a blue sweater. And you
Okay.
wore it, boom, you're here. We can't say no.
Okay.
That's how you, so it's not like you can say, well, we'll let you here if you feel like it. You have to define the special exception requirements to have a special exception use.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
So. 84 lumber. Yes or no?
I mean, a lumber yard, it's a gray area to say a lumber yard is allowed, but building supplies is not.
I know.
Do we know how many trucks visit?
Like leather lumber?
No, how many trucks visit, was it Gorman?
Coleman.
Yeah,
One or two a day or a year?
no,
Maybe one a day.
they're corrugated boxes, right?
And snack supplies,
Yeah.
cleaning supplies and stuff.
Why don't we say no for both? And then if they want a variance, if someone wants to do it, they can apply for a variance.
I don't see a problem with either of them, to be honest with you.
I don't either.
Yeah, I think we don't want to get into a full zoning ordinance rewrite, unfortunately.
No, we don't.
At this juncture. But part of the issues that you're having talking through this is that your terms aren't defined. So lumberyard isn't defined in your zoning ordinance. It should say what a lumberyard is or isn't. It's just on your table of uses.
As opposed to building supplies.
building supplies,
You
yeah.
should be able to see what the difference between those two are, and there's no way to do that.
So you could theoretically, without getting too deep into a zoning ordinance rewrite, do a text amendment for your permitted uses and add some definitions in there
Yeah,
to
that's a good idea.
to better define some of these uses, lumberyard maybe being one of them.
Good point, Derek.
Yeah. Mary's gonna have her hands full.
But for now, we just need a permitted or not permitted.
Correct.
Correct.
Permitted.
Same for
Permitted.
both.
Yeah, you're saying for both.
All right. So I'm marking this one as changed. It could be changed. All right. Distribution as a principal use is not permitted because that would be a warehouse. We did the finishing of previously prepared resin and industrial equipment sales, rental, and service other than vehicles primarily intended to be operated on public streets. That would be like the fire truck restoration company. That is currently permitted.
What about
Or forklift.
farm equipment
Forklift.
or?
Yep.
Forklift business.
Forklift.
Playmaker.
Yep.
Heavy equipment.
All right. Junk, outdoor storage, display, or processing of other than within an approved junkyard or solid waste disposal area is not permitted.
No.
A junkyard is not permitted. Liquid fuel storage, bulk for off-site distribution, other than auto service station, routine propane sales as accessory to a retail use, prepackaged sales, or fuel tanks for company vehicles is not permitted. Manufacture and or bulk processing of the following, okay, provided the manufacturing occurs indoors only. And that is the next group of things. Apparel, textiles, shoes, and apparel accessories is permitted. Cement, gypsum, concrete, or plaster products are not permitted.
I think it should be.
I think it should be as well.
Yeah,
It says
I
it's
agree.
indoors.
Ceramic products is permitted.
It's not craft stuff.
Chemicals, bulk manufacture or bulk storage of highly hazardous or toxic chemicals is not permitted. Chemical products that are not highly hazardous or toxic are not permitted.
Okay, so that one, chemicals. Wouldn't, like, if Clean Right went in there, wouldn't they kind of fall under that? So I kind of think that one should be okay.
They're not manufactured. They distribute it.
Right.
This is manufacturer and or
This
bulk.
is manufacturing or bulk processing.
That's for highly hazardous. But
Yeah.
for the other one, it just says chemical products that are not highly.
Which could be storage sales.
No,
It could be all
but
that.
Evan, the top line of this section says manufacture or bulk storage processing of the following, provided manufacturing occurs only indoors.
It's a manufacturing
And this is
process.
the whole list of the ones that go under them.
Okay.
Again, weird
Yeah. And I'll
lines.
be honest, what I'm worried about with some of these is before we move forward, we're gonna have to define some of this because we're gonna get into a lot of arguments about whether something is considered a highly hazardous or toxic, right? There's some terms in here that are, closely related, for instance.
Easily
What does that
defined.
mean,
Mhm.
So,
So you know both those. You don't need chemicals. Manufactured chemicals.
I'm on the fence about the not hazardous or toxic, because again,
It's not hazardous.
Clean Right,
Could be hand soap.
Well, and even,
it could be pool supplies.
Laundry soap.
Yeah.
I mean, but those supplies are hazardous. So, but they have to follow other regulations that are outside of our purview.
Yep.
Which makes the operation that's indoors non-hazardous to the surrounding area.
Yep.
Unless they both mix.
What's that?
It
Let's say
doesn't say
mix,
not
then.
hazardous, it says not highly hazardous.
Yeah.
So,
Highly hazardous.
so it means that there is some hazard or there is some
Highly.
toxicity to it.
Yeah.
All right. Not highly hazardous or toxic in or out.
I'm for it.
I'm in.
I say no.
2 no's, 2 yeses.
In.
3, 4.
We're
would
in.
a special exception make sense there?
Okay.
If you put some,
There is a special exemption over under LIGI. Something already exists. Right?
Okay, I'm fine with that.
All right. Electrical and electronic machines, supplies, and equipment is permitted. Fabricated metal products, ammunition or explosives is a special exception.
Fireworks.
Food and beverage products at an industrial scale as opposed to a clearly retail scale is permitted. Furniture and wood products, not including raw paper pulp, is permitted. Glass and glass products are permitted. Incineration, reduction, distillation, storage, or dumping of slaughterhouse refuse, rancid fats, garbage, bones, dead animals, or offal, other than within an approved solid waste facility,
They are awful.
What
is
is
not
awful?
permitted.
They are awful. So
I,
What is it?
Can you define that word?
hold on, I can Google it.
Like scrapple?
Awful.
Yeah, tannery.
So a fertilizer.
Tanneries are,
plant.
oh, they stink.
So
Like,
that,
ugh.
is that, wait a
Yes,
minute.
no.
That is not permitted in any of our zoning districts, therefore it is permitted in all of them
By special exception.
by special exception, so.
I think you would have a hard time arguing the general special exception criteria that it wouldn't change the character of any neighborhood in this.
I know.
Yeah.
All right, so no rancid fats on the McGinnis property. Okay, jewelry and optical goods are permitted. Large solar energy production facilities are not permitted.
Does that mean like putting solar panels up, or does it mean manufacturing a solar panel?
That means putting them up.
Wait a sec, this is indoor.
How do you do that? Solar indoor.
It has to be assembled and
I
manufactured.
think it's manufacturing.
Manufacturer.
Right.
It should be allowed if it's manufacturing of them.
I would agree.
'Cause
Yeah.
it falls under the manufacturing and or processing of, yeah, large solar, I'd say yes.
Yeah, I
Okay.
agree.
Why wouldn't you want it?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Leather, clay, and pottery products is permitted. Manufactured or modular housing is not permitted. Metal products, primary, is not permitted. I don't know why that would be not permitted.
Is that like a steel mill?
That might be because it is a special exception in light industrial and permitted in general industrial. So it's probably a more industrial. So that would be like a steel mill. Microelectronic components are permitted. Paper and cardboard products, not including manufacture of raw paper pulp, is permitted. Paper, raw pulp is not permitted. Paving or roofing materials other than bulk manufacture of asphalt is not permitted. Pharmaceuticals are permitted. Plastics, polymers, resins, or vinyl are not permitted.
Mhm. That should be okay.
Plastic manufacturer stinks though.
Yes, they do. That's why it's in the industrial. That's an industrial use. Products from previously manufactured materials such as glass, leather, plastics, cellophane, textiles, rubber, or synthetic rubber.
Hold on a second, back to the material. That takes 3D printing out.
That doesn't. They're saying the manufacture of
Manufacture.
plastics or polymer.
Manufacturer, oh, I thought,
The plastics itself.
oh, I thought it was just material. Okay, okay.
Rubber, natural or synthetic, is no.
So, but the products from previously manufactured materials, is that like a recycling?
Say like, I don't know,
Batteries.
welcome mats for cars, tires,
Yeah.
Mhm.
stuff like that.
Scientific, electronic, and other precision instruments is permitted. Soaps, detergents, paints, varnishes, or enamels are not permitted.
I think they should be permitted.
I kind of agree.
That's the manufacturer of it, right?
Yes.
Indoor.
It's.
No, I would say no, that's,
Combustible material.
yeah, that's
I
very,
live not that far from a laundry detergent manufacturing plant, and you can smell it everywhere around there.
Roll Tide, roll.
Paints, varnishes, enamels, highly flammable, dangerous.
transportation equipment.
Why is that a no?
Why is what, no?
Manufacturer of buses is.
Yeah.
Buses,
You got an auto plant?
Why not?
Lots of jobs.
Jobs,
Four-wheelers?
jobs and tax revenue.
I don't have a problem with that.
All right, are we doing a P for transportation equipment?
I would.
I would.
Yep.
Mineral extraction and related processing, stockpiling, and storage is not permitted. Packaging is permitted,
Manufacturing of packaging, right?
yes. Package delivery services in a distribution center is not permitted.
See, I think it should be.
That would be a warehouse, though.
I'm with you 100%.
You can make that a special exception and then your definition.
But it's
Put a
not,
certain square footage down.
it's not that, because if Amazon came in tomorrow and built that whole 57 acres with a warehouse, I'd be happy with it.
Yeah.
The problem is not what's in that zone, it's outside that zone, it's the traffic.
Mhm.
And that would fall under special exception, that'd fall under planning. So, and that's a difficult part of it.
Yep. So I think now we're past the manufacturing of stuff because now, so package delivery service distribution center, warehouse, in or out.
I'm in favor of it,
I'm in favor of it.
but it's traffic. So you're aware.
I
But
am
that's,
not.
that's a lot of truck traffic.
Absolutely.
So what if we create a special exemption for anything that's involving a warehouse that they have to deal with getting out on the 441?
441.
You can't do that.
Can't do it.
They can figure it out.
Maybe they want to pay to widen the bridge, you never know, if it means enough to them.
They could widen the bridge. They could negotiate with Norfolk Southern.
I don't disagree with you, but that has nothing to do with this zone.
Right.
But you could put that as a condition in a
Condition.
special exception,
Yeah.
right? Like if you want to put this use in, any truck traffic has to
Must
go
use
out
441.
to 441. Among other, I mean, there'd be a lot of other things for sure about lighting and things like that, but
So,
you could,
all right, let's do it as special exception and then we can define the special exception.
Which, okay, so here's my thought in that, is that we could put that as a broad special exception for some of these that we've thrown out for heavy truck traffic, basically.
Like lumberyard and,
We enjoy your word.
or we didn't throw lumberyard out?
You might say you might have 3-4 businesses in there, go
Use-
together and
use
say,
materials.
yeah, we want to go 441.
Right.
We'll pay for the improvement.
You'll have a very limited number of users who will be able to make that.
Right, and I understand that, but at least that makes it available. It shows kind of, we're open to this, but with very limited special exception.
Not closing the door.
We're not closing the door. It's not that we don't want it, it's just,
It's a high.
here's the barrier.
It's a high revenue generating use case.
All right. We'll do that. We'll do it as special exception and then we'll define that special exception. Sound good?
And there was a warehouse further up that we said no to, which that would fall under that same thing.
Yes. All right. Photo processing, bulk photo processing is permitted.
I don't even think it's a thing anymore.
Printing or bookbinding is permitted. Recycling collection center is a special exception. Recycling center bulk other than a solid waste disposal or transfer facility is not permitted. Research and development, engineering, or testing facility or laboratory is permitted. Sawmill or planing mill is not permitted.
Sorry, I'm stuck on this recycling collection center. What? The recycling collection center reminds me of a transfer station where the trucks are coming in, dumping off big piles of garbage. I don't want that down there.
I wish we knew what it was, to be honest with you. But
So let's either say no or by special exception.
Wait, we are all say, well, they are all no.
Yeah, that's a special.
Oh, that is by special exception, but let's say no.
Okay.
Collection
What's
center.
2030?
I don't know.
Let's look that up.
I thought it was at the top.
Ah,
No, not that one. It is?
Isn't there definitions at the top?
no,
I
Not for
thought that
that.
was in there.
this is referring to a section of the code.
hold on, there may be something.
Hold on, I want to look at something too here.
There are provisions for that recycling. It's 220-30, section 32. But it doesn't necessarily define what it is. It just gives, the special exception criteria for it.
Oh, awful is the entrails and internal organs of an animal used as food.
Ew.
So a pet food processing plant?
All right. Did you find, so are we leaving that as special exception or no?
I haven't found it.
Yeah, we don't need that.
All right, that's gonna be no. Sawmill or planing mill. Self-storage development is not permitted. A slaughterhouse or stockyard is not permitted. Solid waste landfill is not permitted.
Can I ask about the self-storage?
Yes.
Because that, I think, would be almost a best case scenario in there, because the number of trips that you get to those are incredibly low. I mean, almost unbelievably so. It's hard to believe, but the numbers for those self-storage facilities are really low.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a warehouse type development without the warehouse type traffic.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, fully up to you guys, but I wanted to point that out because I think that would be something that would almost be ideal out there for even part of that site.
Did you see the new U-Haul?
Yeah.
The U-Haul multi-story
Mm-hmm.
out there in Old 83? That'd be
Yeah.
Change it.
I think so.
Mm-hmm. All right. Solid waste landfill is not permitted. Solid waste transfer facility or waste to energy facility is not permitted. A trucking company terminal is not permitted. Warehousing. Are we saying special exception?
Well, if we're gonna define it,
Yep.
that they need to widen a bridge.
Welding is not permitted.
I think it should
You
be.
got against
That don't make sense.
No.
That don't make sense. It's
All right.
You get a,
We're changing that one. Wholesale sales is permitted. Wind energy production facilities are not permitted.
Does that mean a windmill?
Yes. All right, now we are on the institutional uses. Cemetery without crematorium is not permitted. A crematorium is not permitted. A college or university is permitted. Community center or library is permitted. Cultural center or museum is permitted.
I have questions on this. Are all of these like taxable? Are they gonna pay property tax?
It would depend.
Yeah.
It would depend on who's doing it. If it's a nonprofit, no.
So I'm not in favor
of any non.
of non-profitable business.
So take out the college or university, community center or library is out.
Keep going.
Cultural center or museum is out. Adult daycare center
Probably out,
is permitted,
but it probably should be out.
should be out.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Wait a minute, adult daycare center.
A child daycare center.
Is a nonprofit.
Out.
That's probably a nonprofit as well.
No, they're not.
Daycare centers.
They're not
They haven't
nonprofit.
gotten
That
the
should be
hospital
permitted.
yet.
I know, I think so
That's
too.
coming up next.
Little People's isn't nonprofit.
Mhm.
What about, was it Head Start?
Head Start.
Some
is-
of them
that's
are, some of
government.
them aren't. And,
Right.
Yeah.
We want them.
I was just saying, I mean, you do, I will point out, those ones are permitted almost anywhere else, so,
Mhm.
you know.
other places they can choose.
I think they should be elsewhere in town.
Yeah, better be that.
One of the big
Just be a
tickets
park.
to getting people to work for you and your business is to have daycare close by.
Yep.
And we have a good group there.
Hospital is permitted. A membership club other than an after-hours club or tavern is permitted. Nursing home or personal care is permitted.
Is it taxable?
I think what you also gotta start thinking about is, clearly, some of the uses that you've
Yeah.
said you wanna allow out here are more towards the industrial side.
Industrial, not
which is fine,
institutional.
but you then have to think about what else you're permitting here, such that you don't want those industrial uses
Right.
right next to a nursing home, right?
Correct.
Like, so you've gotta start to think about some of that stuff. as you-
And nursing home is a home, and we've said we don't want residential uses, so that should be out. A place of worship is permitted.
I think that should be out.
School, public, private, primary, or secondary is permitted. We are saying no. A treatment center is not permitted.
What's a-
Public, semi-public uses.
We allow a hospital though, so what's a treatment center?
Why- we didn't
No,
allow-
we didn't allow-
Rehab
Oh.
facility.
We didn't allow
Okay,
hospital.
rehab,
Oh,
gotcha.
I know that one because.
I thought we didn't allow hospital.
no, we didn't.
Oh, I thought it was,
We're not allowing hospitals?
it's, I thought it said it's permitted.
It is permitted.
It does say
Hospitals are
permitted.
nonprofit.
Yes.
Not all of them, for sure. And a lot of them have started, let me put it this way, local taxing authorities have really started to challenge the notion that they are.
Well, they have two sides
Yeah,
to
not
it.
profit,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but
Right, but do we
First
really
development
want
is for
a hospital
next to us all.
next to a sawmill? No.
Especially
Well,
like-
if a hospital would buy the whole property.
Yeah.
So,
I hear what
Okay.
you're saying. They come in, but probably need most of that.
borough-owned uses is permitted.
No. Absolutely not,
Correct. No.
unless it's another borough. It's the ones that are fine.
Well, what about the
Well, then they
park?
can change, our code will be
Park's already
obsolete.
there.
if It's another
I
borough.
know, but that wouldn't be included because that would be borough use.
The park is totally separate from this.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
Government facility other than uses separately in whatever part of the code that is. That's special exception.
No.
Emergency services station, which may include a supporting social club building or facility,
No.
is permitted. So that is no.
No, so far I'd be no on all the public stuff.
Is that because of? Is that because of?
Publicly owned recreation
Taxes.
Yeah, 'cause
No.
But I mean,
is no.
the fire company's already up there. Are they looking to expand or I don't know? I was wondering why that was in there.
Public utility facility is special exception. A swimming pool, non-household,
Swimming pool.
is
No.
permitted.
No.
No.
Doesn't make sense.
You got the choir in
Not
the
back
side
there.
if they want to swim.
Post office is permitted.
Yeah, no, they're not gonna put a post office out there.
Is post office nonprofit?
It's government.
Yes.
Nope.
All right, now we're down to accessory uses. This is like the weird stuff. Daycare center accessory to a lawful place of worship.
No.
No,
A group daycare home.
no,
No.
A family daycare home.
no,
A general home occupation.
no,
No.
No.
A light home occupation.
no.
Outdoor
What's the
telephone.
difference?
That's what it is.
Well, that's not anywhere, so I don't.
Yeah.
Parking lot as a principal use
No.
is no. Raising of livestock is a
No.
special exception.
No,
No. Crop farming is permitted.
no,
We all know which way it's
All
going.
uses that will be unable to comply with the performance standards of this chapter, especially including the environmental protection requirements of Article 5, is not permitted. I don't even know what that means, Evan.
Just strike that.
Yeah, that seems like, yeah.
Everything is.
I don't even know what that means. I'm down through it. I will and send it out to make sure everyone is okay with it before we send it on to planning commission.
well, aren't we going to have to write some definitions for the SEs?
Oh, we're a long way from this.
Oh, yeah. You got
This is gonna be a
Mhm.
long process till we get this done. This is not gonna be quick, just based upon what you have and what you don't
Mhm.
have here.
Does it need to be done before we sell McGinnis?
Should be.
Should be.
So, yeah, I mean, it needs to be in place before somebody is ready to do a land development plan out there. So, yeah.
Let me ask you this, Evan and Derek. We have this piece of ground, and you put it out for sale. Someone wants to buy it. Have you had any instances where they would agree to buy it, and then they basically set up the zoning, the permitted uses?
I've never experienced anyone setting up the use table. What is becoming popular is called a conditional use plan, in that your uses remain, like your permitted use table is set. What a conditional use plan does is it throws out a lot of the dimensional requirements of your zoning ordinance, and it treats a large piece of land as one cohesive development. So you'll see these they're really big in the South for like mixed use.
Yep.
And a lot of times in this case, you're seeing residential and business and apartments and retirement all in one. So I'm seeing that a lot. For something like this, that could be an option for one developer who wants to come in and literally develop the whole site. That said, I don't think the only time that works is when you have one entity who wants to build the whole thing and sell off lots in almost like a subdivision plan. Like the conditional use doesn't work if you're going to put in streets and kind of quarantine lots. It's one developer who's trying to build one project all at the same time. For the most part.
What I see here is I think you need to sell it as one piece to a developer. Now, you can have your table of businesses that you would permit in there, whether they be permitted uses or special exceptions. And what they're going to do is they're going to maximize that square footage in there. They're going to create lots. No, they're going to maximize it.
Yep.
So by maximizing it, to get the best dollar they can, they're going to get you the best tax dollar you can get.
Yep.
And that's going to cut out some of these permitted uses that you already talked about today, because they're not going to generate.
Right.
And a developer isn't going to develop for some of those uses. They're going to develop for the high end. And I think that's where you really want to end up going, and that's where you want to get the best bang for your buck. I have a fear that to get rid of that piece of property, you want to start selling off lots, and then you're going to wind up with a checkerboard. And it's not going to be what you want at the end.
Oh, I know.
So I think you need to look at one use, and they'll develop it, like I said, to the best and maximum use that they can get on money-wise, and that's going to convert to the best money you're going to get for your tax dollar. So keep that in mind. So as you give these permitted uses, you may put that as a permitted use. The person that buys that, there's no way in the world they're going to put that business in there. They're going for the high end, the high dollar. And that's the way you want to go.
To further answer your question, Mayor, I've also had developers who wanted to do something and got into an agreement with, it wasn't necessarily the municipality, but got into agreement with the landowner. And as part of that, one of the contingencies of that deal was that they got a zoning text amendment approved from the municipality to do what they wanted to do. So at that point, they would come to you guys and come to the planning commission and propose a text amendment that would allow them to do whatever they decide to do.
Over and above your.
Correct. It would change the zoning ordinance in some.
We see that at the county planning commission a lot. They come to the planning commission asking for a text amendment, and that's a contingency for them to purchase the lot.
Correct.
And if that fits your community,
Yep.
you're the winner.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
so
that's always a possibility as
Right.
well. Yep.
Yeah. And like I said, we are seeing that pretty often down there.
Yep.
So, all right, I'll mark that up and we'll see. And we'll see if Mary needs more or less or what. All right, whew, there we go. I'm sweating, man. All right, next, we have resolution 2025-04, authorizing the borough to enter into a reimbursement agreement for the Smart Growth Transportation Grant for the Walnut Street Streetscape Project. This is, like it says, what's required in order to move this project here. Does anyone have a motion to adopt resolution 2025-04?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
The motion by Councilperson Stahl, second by Councilperson Murphy to adopt resolution 2025-04, authorizing the borough to enter into a reimbursement agreement for the Smart Growth Transportation Grant for the Walnut Street Streetscape Project. Questions, comments? No? All right. Yes.
Derek, I believe one time recently you told me smart growth transportation,
The
there was a
motion-
different,
The motion's not, it should be smart growth transportation funding as listed in the background and justification. That's the proper terminology.
okay, it was different on the agenda. That's why it's correct in the packet, I guess.
In the motion, it says, the executive brief has an error. In the motion, it says smart growth transportation grant.
Okay,
In the background and justification, you see it says SGT funding. That's the proper terminology.
this is
So
funding,
this
not a
is-
grant.
This
you're
is smart
saying.
growth transportation funding. So that
Okay.
was my oversight in the motion.
Thank you for clarifying.
My apologies.
Sorry, I just copied all.
Not your fault. Not your fault at all.
So I have a motion by Councilperson Stahl, second by Councilperson Murphy, to adopt Resolution 2025-04, authorizing the borough to enter into a reimbursement agreement for the Smart Growth Transportation funding for the Walnut Streetscape project. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Next, we are asked to consider authorizing staff to advertise the position of a part-time janitor. Are there any questions? Yes. Sharon.
Last question, I promise.
Huh?
I was surprised to see this detail on the executive brief because Frank has often asked why someone was let go, why they quit. And he was almost always told, we can't say that, you can't give any. And this seems to go into enough detail that I would be surprised if this guy could apply for a job anywhere. I mean, it makes him look pretty irresponsible. And excessive absence could mean a number of things. I mean, it could be health issues, it could be transportation problems. I mean, I was just surprised to see it based on the answers before. Thank you.
Evan, I have a question for you. Is this something we should do before, or do we need to, as a board, approve the dismissal of him before we approve hiring?
My understanding is no.
Okay,
I have not spent hardly any time with your union contract because you have Mike Miller. But my understanding is that because he's in his probationary period, you do not.
but I mean, nothing to do with the union, just as we as a board agreed to hire him. Now, do we as a board need to accept the fact that he's being terminated?
Not as far, you've given Steve that as the manager, the ability to hire and fire staff here, so.
Okay,
Yeah, we never did in the past. You know, it's always been, he's still in his 90-day trial period, so he's technically not a union member with union protections, and that's really what they should be doing. Really, that first 90 days should be, first 89 days should be a hard evaluation of what they're doing. Because on
okay.
day 90, there you go.
I do kind of agree with Sharon's point. I don't know if we want that terminology to be in there that way.
Does anyone have a problem voting to authorize staff to advertise the position of part-time janitor?
No.
Could I have a motion?
Second.
A motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl, to authorize staff to advertise the position of part-time janitor. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, we have Resolution 2025-05, appointing Bonnie Link to the Parks and Recreation Committee for a term expiring on December 31st, 2028. Does anyone have any questions? Does anyone have a problem voting on this? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Councilperson Murphy, second by Councilperson Geezy to adopt Resolution 2025-05, appointing Bonnie Link to the Parks and Recreation Committee for a term expiring December 31st, 2028. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, we have Resolution 2025-06. that allows us to act as the grantee for the NAWCC RACP grant. I had briefly mentioned this at the workshop that they had asked if we would act as their grantee. Basically, they're doing all the work. They give it to us to sign the packet. We sign the packet. They give it to us when they are ready to apply for the money. We sign it. We get a check. We turn the check over. Well, we deposit it and write them a check.
Liability is there to us.
There is almost no liability. You're essentially a pass-through entity for that funding from the state because it has to go to a local municipality. So yeah, that's all you're doing. And you've done this in the past for them, if my mind. Yep.
I was curious if there's,
No.
for instance, I don't know,
No.
misuse of funds or something.
Yeah. No. It would fall back on them. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and there is, in addition to the resolution, there is an agreement
Mhm.
that we also need to sign that has to be part of the packet that goes with the RACP packet
Yep.
that they submit. And I had Evan take a look at that to make sure
exactly.
we were good.
Yep.
Um,
And to Todd's point, there's an indemnification clause in there that
Yep.
protects the borough.
Yeah, and then Evan, did you have a preference on when we sign that? Are you okay if we
I-
sign it now?
Yes, I think now. Yep. That was
Okay.
my. Yep.
Yeah, they said we could sign it now. Some people don't like to sign it until the packet's ready to go.
Yeah, I think get it to them a while, and that way they're
Okay.
not waiting on it. Yep.
All right. Does anyone have a problem voting on this one tonight? Do I have a motion to adopt resolution 2025-06? I have a motion by Councilperson Geezy, second by Councilperson Burgard to adopt resolution 2025-06 to act as grantee for the NAWCC RACP grant. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Staff reports, comments, and announcements. Solicitor Gable.
I don't have anything further at this time.
Borough Engineer.
Just an announcement that this is a big week for long-term projects in the borough. We had a design team meeting today for the Maple Park project. I have a design team meeting tomorrow for your Public Works building, and I have a design team meeting on Friday for the McGinnis project. So a lot of activity, a lot of projects moving forward. And also with the passing of the resolution for the Walnut Street project, again, we're nearing the end of the road to get that project out to bid. And again, those bids will open June 25th is our date.
Doug, I thought we were holding off on Wall Street till after the bridge construction.
No.
I know.
Anything else for Derek? Secretary Treasurer, Mr. Koffel.
Just an announcement that the office will be closed next Monday, February 17th, in observation of President's Day. So I
All right. Boards, commissions, and committees. Harb meets tomorrow evening, 7 p.m. Parks and Rec is Thursday at 6 p.m. Planning Commission has a workshop on the 18th at 6 p.m. and the regular meeting at 7 p.m. that same day. And the Shade Tree Commission meets on the 24th at 6 p.m. In your packet, there are the approved minutes from the LASA meeting in December. Borough Council comments, Councilperson Stahl,
Nothing, thanks.
Councilperson Murphy.
Nothing to add, other than it was a great conversation this evening on the uses for the McGinnis property.
Councilperson Kaufman.
Yeah, I do have something. Murphy Hospitality Group LLC reached out to us, Steve and I, Friday, and is requesting that this council uses the 2024 costing for the building permit compared to the 2025. This is a $8,909,000 project. And the difference between 24 and 25 is approximately $44,565, which obviously they didn't budget for. So he's requesting, and I have a letter here, that we use the 2024 costing for his permit instead of 2025. So, there's- I hopefully right there. So obviously, we're not going to vote on it tonight, but I wanted to bring it to your attention, and I'm asking that it be put on the agenda for next meeting so we can discuss this. Other than that, I'd like to welcome Bonnie to the Parks and Rec. Bonnie has a history of working with the crowd, with her school background, and also she's a member of the MAC Association. You still sit on the board, correct, Bonnie? So that will be a gateway for us to work with the MAC, I'm hoping. And Chris Vera starts this Thursday as well, so we'll have 2 new members on Parks and Rec as of Thursday.
Yay.
So I have.
I also wanted to say congratulations, Bonnie, and thank you for submitting your application.
Nothing.
I have a couple of things. This past weekend, Saturday, the 8th, I had the honor of attending the annual banquet for the Columbia Borough Fire Department. It was a really good evening. There were a few, and Jake's not here, so I didn't get to tell him, but the firefighters that work for West Hempfield Township did not get to stay for even the dinner because they got called out to work on the roads. But our 2 gentlemen from Columbia Borough did not get called out and were able to attend the whole banquet. But just hearing the accomplishments of the people from last year, we are truly blessed to have such a good group protecting us and everything else. I mean, the training hours alone for 2024, the person with the most training hours had trained for 187.5 hours. The top responders for the year, Scott Rhino at 507 calls out of 746. Number 2 was our very own Justin Meisel at 385 calls out of 746. So, I mean, it was just hearing the amount of time, and I mean, we all know how much time goes into it, but it was an awesome evening. So I was glad to be able to be there for that. Also, as far as McGinnis, I have arranged to have someone at the 25th meeting in 2 weeks to give us technical update, meaning like the site and things like that. The business, unfortunately, the gentleman for the business aspect, John B. Miller, is not able to be here that evening. So I'm getting with him to see if we can have him come on the 4th for the March workshop to give the business update. Other than that, I think that is it. The announcement of next meeting at 7 p.m. On Tuesday, February 25th, council will hold a regular meeting. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Councilperson Geezy, second by Councilperson Kaufman to adjourn at 9 p.m. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? We're adjourned. We have checks to sign.
And I was looking forward to the executive. I got enough information.